My dear friends, I must tell you something that has haunted me for decades. Something so profound, so terrifying, that I have hesitated to share it with the world. But I can no longer remain silent. In 1944, I died. Not metaphorically, not symbolically. I literally died on that hospital bed, my heart having ceased its rhythm. But what happened next? What I witnessed in those moments between worlds, it shattered everything I thought I knew about the nature of consciousness, about death, about the very fabric of existence itself. Picture this: you are floating above your own lifeless body, watching the frantic efforts of physicians trying to resurrect what you now realize was merely a vessel. But here's what will shock you. You are more alive, more conscious, more aware than you have ever been in your entire incarnate existence. You can perceive realities that mock our earthly understanding of physics. You can know things without learning them. You can see the invisible threads that connect all consciousness. And in those eternal moments suspended between life and death, I discovered something that will chill you to your very soul. The journey of consciousness doesn't end when the body fails. It explodes into something magnificent and terrifying beyond imagination. What I am about to share with you are not theories born from my analytical couch, not observations gleaned from my patients' dreams and neuroses. These are my direct encounters with the realm beyond death. Visions so vivid, so detailed, that they forever changed my understanding of what it means to be human. If you have ever wondered what truly happens after we die, if you have lost someone dear and questioned where they have gone, or if you seek answers beyond what conventional science dares to offer, then I urge you to stay with me. What I am about to reveal might challenge every belief you hold about death, consciousness, and the very nature of reality itself. Now breathe deeply and prepare yourself. I'm about to take you into my terrifying and beautiful vision of what the soul experiences in its first 40 days beyond the veil of death. The moment my consciousness separated from my dying body, I discovered that time doesn't simply stop. It becomes fluid, elastic, bending to the will of awareness itself. I was no longer bound by the linear progression of seconds and minutes. Instead, I existed in what I came to call eternal moments, where a single thought could stretch into what felt like hours, and entire lifetimes of memory could flash by in an instant. In those first moments after my death, I witnessed something extraordinary. My soul, for lack of a better word, didn't drift aimlessly into some abstract afterlife. I remained intensely aware, more awake than I had ever been in physical form. I could see my lifeless body below, but I felt no attachment to it. It was like looking at an old coat I had finally outgrown. The shock wasn't in seeing my corpse. The shock was in realizing how limited I had been when trapped inside it. I described this initial phase as the Great Awakening. Suddenly I understood that what I had called consciousness during life was just a tiny fraction of my true awareness. It was like spending my entire existence looking through a keyhole, then suddenly having the entire door thrown open. The expansion was overwhelming, terrifying, and absolutely magnificent. During these first 3 days, I experienced what I termed the dissolution of the persona. All the masks I had worn, all the roles I had played, every identity I had clung to in life began to crumble away. I had been a psychiatrist, a father, a husband, a scholar. But here, in this space between worlds, those labels became meaningless. What remained was something far more essential, far more true. This process wasn't gentle. I witnessed other souls struggling desperately to hold on to their earthly identities, fighting to remain who they thought they were. Some became trapped in this resistance, creating what I called psychic loops, where they replayed the same thoughts, the same worries, the same attachments over and over again. They became ghosts of their former selves, haunting not places but ideas. But for those who surrendered to the dissolution, something beautiful emerged. By the 4th day, I began to encounter what I called the archetypal realm. This wasn't heaven or hell as religions describe them. It was something far more profound. It was the dimension where all the fundamental patterns of existence reside. The mother, the father, the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, the innocent child. These weren't just psychological concepts I had theorized about. They were living, breathing entities that exist in the collective unconscious of all humanity. I was greeted by these archetypal beings, not as strangers, but as old friends. The wise old man, appeared to me, offering guidance. I watched as the Great Mother embraced souls needing comfort. The hero archetype came to those who had to face their shadows. It was here that I began to understand my deeper purpose, not just in the life I had just left, but in the grand tapestry of human consciousness itself. Between days 5 and 10, I discovered something that shocked me to my core. I began to experience what I called the collective review. This wasn't just a personal life review. I started to see how my thoughts, actions, and choices had rippled out into the collective unconscious, affecting not just individuals, but entire generations of humanity. Every act of kindness I had performed sent waves of light through the collective psyche. Every moment of hatred or judgment I had harbored created tears in the fabric of human consciousness. I realized that nothing I had done was private. Every thought had contributed to the great collective experience of mankind. I was horrified by some revelations, seeing damage I had caused to the collective human spirit. But I was also amazed to discover how my smallest acts of love had created healing that spread far beyond my awareness. I observed that during this phase, many souls choose to become what I called collective healers. They remain in the archetypal realm, working to repair the damage caused by human unconsciousness. They become the invisible forces that inspire compassion, creativity, and growth in the living world. These are the souls that whisper wisdom to artists, comfort to the grieving, and courage to the afraid. As the second week unfolded, I witnessed something which is the shadow integration. I had to face my shadow, the dark aspects of myself that I had denied, repressed, or projected onto others during life. But here, in this realm of pure consciousness, there was nowhere to hide. The shadow wasn't something to be defeated. It was something to be embraced, understood, and integrated. I encountered my darkest aspects with terror, shame, and resistance. But when I found the courage to embrace my shadow, I experienced the most profound transformation of my existence. I discovered that my darkness contained hidden gifts, repressed power, and forgotten wisdom. The shadow, when integrated, became the source of my greatest strength. This integration process took days. I watched other souls get lost in their shadows, becoming trapped in cycles of self-punishment and regret. But I observed that these souls weren't abandoned. Shadow guides appeared, archetypal beings who specialized in helping souls navigate their darkness. These guides didn't offer judgment. They offered understanding, showing each soul how its darkness had served a purpose, how it had been necessary for evolution. By day 20, I witnessed the great remembering. I began to recall not just my recent life, but glimpses of previous incarnations. But this wasn't random recall. I remembered with purpose, seeing the threads that connected each lifetime, the lessons that carried forward, the relationships that transcended death itself. I discovered that souls don't reincarnate alone. We travel in what I termed soul clusters, groups of consciousness that choose to incarnate together lifetime after lifetime, playing different roles to help each other evolve. My mother in this life might have been my child in a previous one. My greatest critics might have been my closest soul companions, helping me learn lessons I couldn't learn any other way. This remembering brought me profound peace and a deep commitment to return. Some souls, exhausted by lifetimes of struggle, chose to rest in the archetypal realm. Others, like myself, felt energized by understanding their purpose and felt called to return to Earth with renewed mission and clarity. During the final weeks of this 40-day journey, I observed what I called the choice point. Each soul had to decide its next phase of existence. But this choice wasn't made by the ego or personality. It was made by what I termed the self, the deepest, most authentic core of the soul's being. Some souls chose to ascend to higher dimensions of consciousness, becoming guides and teachers for others. Some chose to remain in the archetypal realm, working to heal and inspire humanity from the collective unconscious. Others chose to reincarnate immediately, driven by unfinished business or deep love for the Earth experience. But I discovered there was a fourth choice, one that both terrified and fascinated me. Some souls chose to descend deeper into matter, becoming what I called incarnate angels. These were souls so evolved, so committed to humanity's awakening, that they chose to be born into the most challenging circumstances, carrying light into the darkest places on earth. As the 40th day approached, I witnessed something that changed my understanding of death forever. The soul doesn't simply move on to its next phase. It undergoes what I called the great synthesis. All the experiences, integrations, and revelations of the past 40 days crystallized into a new configuration of consciousness. I emerged transformed, carrying new wisdom, new purpose, and new power. I realized that these 40 days aren't just about the individual soul. They're about the evolution of consciousness itself. Each soul that completes this journey adds to the collective wisdom of humanity. The insights gained, the integration achieved, the healing accomplished, all becomes part of the great collective unconscious that connects all human beings. This is why I spent my later years emphasizing the importance of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. I understood that the work we do on ourselves in life directly impacts our experience after death. The more conscious we become, the more integrated, the more authentic, the smoother our transition through these 40 days becomes. My revelation carries a profound message for those of you still living. Death isn't something to fear, it's something to prepare for, not with dread, but with excitement. It's the ultimate adventure in consciousness, the final examination of a lifetime's growth, the doorway to experiences beyond your wildest imagination. Every moment of self-reflection, every act of compassion, every effort to understand your shadow, every step toward becoming more authentic prepares you for this journey. I discovered that consciousness is the only thing we truly own, the only thing that survives death, the only thing that matters in the end. So what does this mean for you right now in this moment? It means that every thought you think, every choice you make, every relationship you heal is preparing you for the greatest journey of your existence. You're not just living a human life, you're preparing for a consciousness adventure that will take you beyond everything you thought possible. The souls who navigate these 40 days with grace and wisdom aren't the ones who lived perfect lives. They're the ones who lived conscious lives, who faced their shadows, who integrated their experiences, who served something greater than themselves. My chilling revelation isn't really about death at all. It's about life. It's about waking up to who you truly are before you leave this body. It's about preparing for the ultimate adventure by becoming fully, authentically, consciously alive right now. Remember, my message isn't one of fear, but of infinite possibility. Death isn't the end of consciousness, it's the beginning of consciousness unleashed. And the more prepared you are, the more magnificent that beginning becomes. Your journey through the first 40 days after death starts with how consciously you choose to live today.